Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to discuss about the concept of virtual memory, which plays an important role in the memory unit, a memory system. And we will just start the discussion with respect to the diagram available here. Okay. So as a user, when we write the program are supposed to be saved in the secondary storage, and this secondary program available in the secondary storage has to reach the processor across different levels. So we are just going to see the memory is going to be organized in different levels. And before that, we know that the CPU is going to execute the instruction in four phases. Okay. So the four important phases in any instruction execution process is that fetching the instruction. Okay, then we have to decode the instruction. Only after decoding the instruction we will come to know whether it needs operand. If it is going to involve operands, then we have to calculate the address of the operand. Okay, and if after calculating the address of the operand we have to fetch the operand also. After fetching the operand we can directly execute the instruction. When the CPU executes the instruction, it will get the result, and the result will be stored and it has to be written back into the memory. So any instruction execution in processor has to follow these four stages. This point I think already we have discussed. Just I have refreshed the point here. Now if it is going to fetch the instruction, where from it is going to fetch? So fetching the instruction and fetching the operand is going to be from the memory. And in which memory it is going to refer to? Always the CPU will always refer to the memory which is closer to it, and as such the processor will also have some registers inbuilt. It will just look for the data in the registers available inside the CPU. If it is going to be instruction, it has to be fetched from the cache memory. So the next level of memory will be the cache. If it is present in the cache, if it is a hit, it will use the data directly from the cache memory. If it is not there in the cache, then usually it is going to be called as a miss, and because the data is not there in the cache, it will look into the main memory. And again, if it is going to have the data, if it is going to be a hit, then okay, if it is going to be a hit, it will be supplying the data to the cache memory, and then from the cache memory it will reach the processor. Suppose if it is not there in the main memory, obviously it has to look to the next level. So if the requested item is not there in the main memory, usually this is going to be a miss, and this miss is going to be called as a page fault. What I mean by page fault is the page requested is not available in the main memory, so it is going to be a page fault. This is also a scenario which depicts the situation of miss. And if it is not there in the main memory, it will refer to the disk storage. If it is present in the disk storage, it will use it, so it has to be moved on to the main memory. As we all know, the secondary memory is going to be the huge size. Okay, we will be transferring huge volume of data. If we want to transfer huge volume of data from the disk to the main memory, the CPU has to intervene in this operation. CPU is totally meant for doing only processing. Now what we are trying to do, we are trying to use the CPU for data transaction, IO activity. So in order to effectively utilize the CPU, we are not going to disturb the processor for doing this transaction. Instead, we are going to make use of the DMA transfer. So what actually we mean by DMA transfer is direct memory access transfer. So we are trying to allow the IO devices to access the memory directly without disturbing the CPU. So at a faster rate, the data transaction will happen between the secondary memory to the main memory. And once it has reached the main memory, then the CPU will be able to use it only from the reference to the cache. So it has to be again transferred to the cache memory, and from the cache, then it will reach the CPU. So at this point of junction, we are just exposed that we have different levels of memory. So in memory hierarchy, what are the different levels? If you just observe, the first level is going to be the registers which are available inside the CPU, and these registers are fixed in number. They cannot accommodate the whole data required for your application. So whatever is possible, that alone will be stored in the register. Since it is closer to the CPU, it will be executing, the processor will be referring to the data available in the register and executing at a high speed. If register are not able to accommodate all the data or instruction, it will be kept in the cache memory. Again, the cache memory, it is going to be available in three levels, that is otherwise identified as level 1 cache, level 2 cache, and then level 3 cache. And not only this classification, the cache memory is also going to be classified into two categories. One is called as unified cache, another one is called a split cache. Unified cache, split cache. So what do you mean by unified cache? Unified, Okay, that means both are same, or that means we have the same cache to store the instruction and to store the data. So if I use a common cache to store both instruction and data, it is going to be called as unified cache. In order to do some parallel activity, I will separate these information and store the instruction in the instruction cache and store the data in the data cache. If this is going to be adopted, then it is going to be called as secondary cache. Okay, sorry, this is going to be called as split cache. Now, after referring to the cache memory, then the next level, what we are going to see is going to be the main memory, and then after this main memory we have the secondary memory. Okay, and as we move away from the processor, these levels are going to have increased capacity and reduced speed, and also the cost also will be decreasing. Okay, so now across these different levels we are just going to compare in terms of three parameters, namely the speed, okay, namely the speed, the cost, and the size. All these three parameters are going to be important, and they are going to vary across different levels. Suppose if I claim like this is going to be the registers, first level is the registers, then the we have the second cache memory, then we have the main memory, then we have the secondary memory. If I just organize the different levels in this direction, then if I just go towards the CPU from the from the farthest level to the innermost level, the speed is going to increase. Okay, that means if I compare the speed of the disk storage, it is going to be less when compared to the speed of the cache, or when compared to the speed of the registers. So as we go deeper or nearer to the CPU, the speed will be more. And what about the cost? Obviously if the speed is more, the infrastructure has to support that facility, and obviously the cost also will be high as I go nearer to the CPU. So if I just compare the speed and cost, they are going to be directly proportional as I go nearer to the CPU. Coming to the size, because it is expensive, because the level of memory near to the CPU is expensive, the size we are not able to provide huge size. The size will increase only in this direction. As I go away from the CPU, the size is going to be huge. Okay, so if I compare the memories across these three levels, we can have these three parameters: speed, cost, and size. As I go nearer, the speed will be fast, and as I go nearer, the cost of the storage unit will be more, and the size will be less. Okay, so these are the three important parameters that has to be associated with different levels. Now coming to the concept of virtual memory, here I have to store my program and data. That means my application is going to be restricted to the size of the secondary memory. If my application is going to be greater than the size of the secondary memory, then what the CPU will do? Will it deny my application? That is not usually expected. So for that purpose, what we have done, we just introduce one more level of memory, which is going to be called as a virtual memory. As the name implies, this concept is virtual. That means there is no physical memory available with me. So we have the concept of virtual memory, and there is no boundage for the size. Okay, now how we are going to make use of the virtual memory which is not physically present, then how can I make use of it? Okay, now to appreciate this principle, we have to first understand the processor behavior. If we observe the CPU at any point of time, the reference pattern followed by the CPU is going to be confined only to some local space. Okay, and because it is confined to local space, at any point of time, the information available in this space, if that is alone made available to the CPU, the CPU will be able to execute it. And if my application is going to demand more such space, then what I will be doing, I will be partitioning my application into different fragments. Okay, and what I will be doing, I will be loading the first fragment into the secondary memory, then transfer it to the main memory, transfer it to the cache, and then get executed. And once the execution of the first partition is over, I will throw it out, and then I will take the second partition. Okay, then I will complete, after the CPU completes execution of the second partition, it will throw it away and then load the next partition. Like this, I can just make the CPU to execute partition by partition, and by means of this concept, I am not restricting my application to a physical size. Okay, so though these partitions are not readily available within this secondary memory, it can be stored somewhere. Somewhere means it can be stored in the cloud, it can be stored in the cloud, or it can be made available in other secondary memory. So it is, if it is a hard disk, I can use second hard disk, I can use third hard disk. So The purpose of having this virtual memory concept is the CPU is not restricted to execute an application whose size is restricted by the secondary memory. If my application size is going to exceed the secondary memory size, still I will not say no, that I will make the partition, load the partition in the secondary memory, then I will be executing. So to appreciate the behavior of the CPU reference pattern. That's what this reference pattern is otherwise called as locality of reference. This is a key property of the processor which introduced the concept of locality of reference. So this key property of the CPU only invented the concept of virtual memory. At any point of time, the CPU reference is going to confine to local space, and because it is confined to local space, I need not restrict the application size to be big enough, okay, to suit the size of the secondary memory. So even if the secondary memory is not able to accommodate my full application, I will load one partition alone as the reference pattern is kind of confined to this partition alone. After completing the execution of this partition, I will throw the CPU will throw it away, and then it will bring in the second partition. Like this, which partition to be brought in, which partition to be thrown out, all it is going to be decided by this MMU, which is nothing but the memory management unit. And as we see different levels of memory means it is going to store some data. So each location in the memory will be having some data or some instruction, and this location has to be referred by means of giving an address. Okay, so if I am going to refer an address which is physically present, then that is called as physical address. If it is not physically present, then it is called as a virtual address, or the other name for this address is also identified as logical address. So you have to understand two type of addresses. One is a logical address or virtual address, another one is physical address. Any address which is going to refer to the memory which is physically present, then it is called as physical address. So if you just observe here, the cache is physically present, the main memory is physically present, the disk also physically present. So all the location in these memories are going to have some physical address. And if the user is going to develop an application, develop the program for the application whose size is not restricted and whose content may spread across different secondary memories, or it can be made available in the cloud storage, then all the addresses referred in those spaces, that is going to be called as a virtual address. So now we are just referring to the two concept of one as a physical address, another one as a logical address. As a user, when we write the program, we will be referring to the logical address because we don't know in which memory it is going to be loaded, and in that memory in which location it is going to be loaded. Now when the CPU executes information from this cache memory, the reference address will be different. So if it is going to be the cache memory, it will be referring to the cache address. If it is going to be referring to the main memory, it is going to be the main memory address. Okay, and then if it is going to be referring to the secondary memory, it is going to be secondary memory address. And if it is going to be referring to the virtual memory, it is going to be a virtual memory address. Okay, so the address is going to vary in each level. So the same information brought across different levels, it will just pass on different addresses. Now how these address references are going to be managed, and the memory management unit is very much responsible to translate the logical address into the physical address. The CPU will always generate or refer the logical address. It has to be converted to the respective physical address based on the availability. If it is stored in the cache, where it actually is stored, that address is called as a physical address. So every time the memory management unit has to do the mapping of the logical address into physical address, and this physical address can refer to any of these three levels. The virtual address or the logical address always refers to the virtual memory, the one which is not present in this setup. It may be available as a second, third, secondary storage, or it can be made available in the different cloud structure. So in this diagram, we have discussed the concept of different levels of memory hierarchy, how these memories are going to be, levels are going to be associated with three parameters, namely the speed, cost, and size, and how the address is going to vary. We will continue the rest of the discussion of this virtual memory in the next session. Thank you.